8, hearing lots of different campaign announcements across the board, and you may recall that yesterday Anthony Albanese flew over to Western Australia fresh out of his isolation after having COVID and leapt onto the stage. I mean, there was lots of song. There was even Russell Crowe voicing the Labor's campaign ad, and lots of tunes as well. But joining me now is David Smith, Labor member for Bean. Good morning.
Good morning, Lish. How are you?
Very well, thanks. We're hearing in our news today around the Western Creek Tennis Club is going to receive $800,000 to upgrade its courts if Labor wins the federal election. Why just Western Creek?
Look, Lish, we've been working with the broader tennis community over the last 12 to 18 months, and this is one of the projects that they identified as a priority. It's the Western Creek Centre, as many people would know, is a real hub for tennis right throughout the south. But with the growth into the Molonglo Valley, there's a need for more courts.
And what will
$800,000
get for the Western Creek Tennis Club?
So at the moment, the club's got 12 courts, Lish, and this will deliver 4 additional courts as well as the capacity to upgrade a couple of courts too.
Okay, so there was lots of other campaign announcements yesterday at the Labor launch in Western Australia, including a housing announcement around, a co-ownership. How does this work? How does the Labor announcement around home ownership for people struggling to afford a home work?
Yeah. Look, Lish. So the big announcement yesterday was effectively. Labor will be introducing a policy for up to 10,000 home buyers per year, and what it does is the government effectively will be an equity partner in those houses. So for a property of in the ACT of up to $600,000, what that means is that there'll be a saving of up to $220,000, and that means mortgages will be more affordable. There'll still be an opportunity for someone who enters that scheme to purchase back part of that equity over the life of the loan, but it just makes a really significant difference, particularly when we're on the verge of potential interest rate increases. On that, how many of those 10,000 is not a huge number considering there's 26 million Australians. I know many of them are in housing already, but is this a drop in the ocean? Do you think this goes far enough? So look, this is only part of our approach to social and affordable housing too, Lish. As you're probably aware, there were previous announcements which went to looking at an additional 30,000 properties under the sort of housing construction fund, of which 20,000 would be social affordable housing, 10,000 were aiming at critical job categories where people couldn't afford to live in their communities. And so, as I said, this is an additional 10,000 per year. It will make a significant difference.
In Canberra, though, I know we've heard from Senator Zed Seselja. He has outlined that he will release 2,000 blocks at the former CSIRO Ginninderra site. What's Labor's plans for ACT specifically?
Well, the key here, Lish, isn't actually about land release. That's important, and in a separate announcement, Labor's announced that they'll actually convene a national council that will be looking at land release and supply right across the country. So that's important. But this actually goes to the actual cost. Too many Australians can't actually get into the market at all. I mean, at the moment, previously we had something like 60% of Australians who used to be able to own their home despite being on low or medium incomes, and that's reduced significantly over the last decade.
My guest is David Smith. He's the Labor member for Bean on ABC Radio Canberra. Brendan highlights around the promise for $800,000 for Weston Creek Tennis Club for upgraded courts and more courts. Brendan says last election an indoor netball court for Caldwell was promised. What happened to that promise?
We didn't win the election. You might remember.
I do remember.
It's and look, there's a broader story here too, just about needs for sporting infrastructure across the ACT, but particularly in the south. And so over the last 12 months, I've been speaking to most of the major sports about the need to pull together a 5 to 10 year plan for all our sporting infrastructure and how we can actually deliver that. And look, a key to that is effectively having two levels of government that can work with each other rather than be at each other's throats.
Does the Caldwell netball courts offer still stand this election?
It's still an area that's something that's close to my heart. It's not a commitment at the moment. My understanding is that there are some revisions to some of the proposals around that proposal that we considered last time. Look, it's certainly an area of need, particularly across Canberra winters, and unfortunately even across Canberra sometimes summers. Sometimes, Lish, there's a need to have indoor facilities.
Well, we've got another 3 weeks to go of the campaign. David Smith, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, Lish.
David Smith, Labor member for Bean.